How's it going out there? We'll do another episode here. I'd like to touch base on Ukraine right now because I'm trying to do things of importance of where we're at. Right now, I believe that Ukraine is a pretty hot topic of the world right now and what's going on. And I'm really not sure what's really going on there. I mean, I just don't know. I have some ideas, I have some opinions, but it's all fishy. The whole thing doesn't make sense. Uh, Starting back, I mean, you can back it all the way up to where the UN or whoever took took the land away from Russia, the USSR, and made it Russia, and blah blah blah. That happened, quite a ways back. I'm not sure what transpired to all that. I have to look at some history on that. But lately, that I can remember, in 2014, there was, the Russia went in and took some land back at Crimea and and some other areas they were trying to get their land back. And there was something to do with Hillary Clinton and she was Secretary of State for Obama. Not sure what was going on there. It seemed like there was something fishy going on there. And George Soros' name was involved with that because he's from Ukraine and, he's a bad player right now in the world. And especially, he's good for communism. He's good for tyranny, but he's bad for America and capitalism. And he's a lot to do with the financial backing that's going on with all the Black Lives Matter and everything else we see and all the crime and non-prosecuting and all these things going on in the bigger cities. He's responsible for a lot of it. And his philosophy and his mindset, which is the one that we talk about, just it's not good for America. But anyway, so and then back at that same time in 2014, 13, 14, 15 is when you had the Hunter Biden coming into the picture, siphoning money out of there, like he did around the world, which is really going to come out here pretty quick. And I mean, it's on its way out now. It's tough to get the whole truth, and it's tough to get anything when obviously we can look at it and go, well, fuck, his dad's a president or the shell of a man it pretends to be. Maybe Hunter's running the country. I don't know. Falling around into Ireland and stuff and toting around and saying, hey, Dad, sniffing hair and stuff. I mean, maybe he's behind it all. We don't know. I'm sure we'll start finding out more and more about his BS and how the corruption is going to come out on the whole family. It's coming out. So thank God we got some politicians that are really, they're just not giving up. And it's good to see some Republicans, acting like politicians that care for the people they represent, instead of being pushed around all the time and beat up by the Democrats every time you turn around. It's good to see a little change, and it's happening fast and hard. These people are ruthless, and which is good to be in the Conservative Party and a Republican, to see what's going on. It's good to see they're finally standing their ground and giving something back to what they took for years, decades. And this whole thing with Ukraine, it just gets pretty suspicious, and even more so when you start looking at Hollywood, our media and the politicians like we talk about. They're all tied in together. So when you got, Sean Penn, who hates conservatives, and he's a hardcore progressive liberal piece of shit, washed up movie star, if that's what you want to call him. The guy gets busted with guns. He's supposed to be anti-gun. Oh yeah, and he gets busted with a guy. And that's okay. And everybody just kind of looks the other way. And goes, oh yeah, he's cool. No, he's not. He's a piece of shit. But he's begging Fox News to go on and talk on Sean Hannity because that's the highest rated, news station in the country. And he goes on there almost crying. We need to go help. Why? Why do we got to go help Ukraine? Nobody even explained it. Oh, they're getting beat up by Russia and the poor people. It's like, no, there's more to it than that. I mean, don't bullshit us. Quit lying to us. In my opinion, there's a lot of corruption there. Obviously, it's going on right now. I mean, we see it before our eyes. You hear about it. Mainstream media is not. It goes back to, it's what they don't tell you. They're not telling you all corruption's there. You got to find out through other sources. You got to look through the media and the YouTube and get the people that are actually on the ground and not news media, especially this news media. I mean, you're not going to get MSNBC or CNN or ABC, CBS. They're not going to give you the truth. There's not. They're stuck together just like the rest of them to make sure you don't know. So you got to be careful of that. And you got to get your news elsewhere. I mean, you got to start. Me, I shop around. I mean, like I said, I go to YouTube and person might laugh, but I watch the shit where people are giving live interviews and going to college campuses or even going into Ukraine. I mean, you watch these stuff, so you're getting the real take on the people that really believe what's going on and have answers. Uh, at least you get some of the reality of it. You're not getting the spin on it, as far as, oh, everything's great. No, it's not great. I mean, because when you tie it in with all these three entities, Hollywood, media, and all the politicians going over there in the midst of the war when it first began, they did a little convoy over there. They went with the envoy of, Nancy Pelosi and her entourage. And maybe she snagged a couple Republicans who were, anti-MAGA. And then they show up over there just to let Ukrainians know that, hey, we just sent you a bunch of money from our taxpayer dollars, and you need to get it shuffled back to us because it needs to go back in our pockets. And that's what happens. It's just a vicious circle of take the American taxpayers' dollars, just take whatever we want. These politicians take whatever they want and just, hey, we send it here, send it there, and then you people send it back to us, and we'll put it in our pockets. But we can't just put it in our pockets. It's got to go through the system. It's got to go through this whole shell game. And that's been going on forever, right? But now they've gotten so brazen with them, they just freaking put it in your face. And when you catch them on it, it's like, yeah, fuck you, we're doing it anyway. Nancy Pelosi's the worst. She's the worst criminal on the Capitol Hill, ever. Between her and Chuck Schumer, but she's the worst, and always has been since she's been there. And then, on the outside of that and the bureaucracy now that used to be inside is the Clintons. I mean, they're the worst. They're the worst. I mean, these people are the worst. So anyway, I mean, the whole time they're lying about Russia. They're lying about, Russia's winning the war. It's running the war. No, it's not. No, it's not. They're taking back over cities. Well, I mean, they're not doing nothing Russia's not letting them do. Trust me. Oh, Russia's military's fading. No, they're just, aborting and soldiers don't want to fight and blah, 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 blah. It's just one after none. I mean, the media makes shit up so good, and we'll tell people what we want to tell them, and they just do that. I mean, so we got to, person's got to be careful on what they hear and what they really believe. Do a little more research if you just want to believe one thing, because you got to find that balance. You got to find that balance of one side says one thing, one side says the other. Well, there's two sides to every story. Then there's the truth, right? And so everybody's truth is a little different, and it might be their firm belief in truth, but in a debate in a society, you got to be able to find that balance where you can at least debate about it. Well, we don't even have that no more. We're so divided. We don't have no debate no more. I don't think they debate in college no more. I really don't. I don't think. Well, I know one thing, they almost want to kill anybody on the college campuses that come on with a conservative viewpoint. There's no freedom of speech. So I'm pretty sure they don't have debate, because the debate would have to be looking at both sides and talking about trying to find an issue. Well, I don't think they do that no more. They just have one side of it, and just maybe that one side they cut it in half and start debating on that, whether transgenders really have a dick or don't. I mean, that's probably their debate. I mean, I don't know. But that's a big deal, and so when they're lying and lying and lying and lying, all the time, it's really hard to know who's telling the truth and who's not. And then now you hear, like, and these things you're hearing it in Congress. It's not like you're just making it up, or hey, maybe somebody's saying that it's just fake news or what. No, I mean, you're hearing them talk about, yeah, we're sending money. Part of that money we're sending for relief is going to go to help pay for their retirement and then some social services, and you're like, what? Now we're paying people's pensions around the world. American tax dollars are going out there. We're going there to send them tanks, help them out. Now you're telling me we're going to send them money just so they can survive now because of what's going on there? Not our problem. We're going to send money all around the world now to Africa and everywhere else that needs money because they don't have enough money to pay. It's not our problem. So we really need to step back, and we need to get our Congress and politicians, dial back to say, hey, we need some more answers. We need to start a little more transparency. We need to start knowing where our tax dollars are going, how much is going in the United States for programs. I don't care if it's social or if it's just paid government wages. And then what's going outside the government in mass amounts of money that's going to, we don't even know. But we need to know that at least, so we can know, why are we spending more money around the world than we're spending in our own country, which we know we do. So yeah, something's got to change. I mean, and let's get to a point, especially when our economy just got shit I mean, we're the worst economy we've had in 40 years, and it's all because of old Biden. Old Biden screwed this up and called it the Inflation Reduction Act. What a lie, man. Anyway, they know exactly what they're doing. It's all per plan. I mean, they're trying to take down the country. No, Biden's, he's as a big a piece of that puzzle as anyone else in the world. A big piece of it. That's why the balloons fly over and don't shoot them down until they take all their pictures and listen to everything and spot out land they're going to fucking take over and he can't say nothing. So we've talked about that. He can't say nothing, or he'll just China will blow him wide open. He's bought and paid for, hands down, bought and paid for. We already know that. We already seen. There's no other explanation. It's like leaving the border wide open and complaining because of fentanyl. Well, we're doing it on purpose. We're just letting everybody in. Not only that, we're giving money back to the money thing and tax law. Yeah, we're just giving money, shoes, blah blah blah. What a bunch of bullshit. We're going to go into that one too at some point here. Like I said, I'm doing priority here in my mind is what I think is really touching the world right now, and especially America, and that what we need to pay attention to right now. And so Ukraine's, top of that list. And so I just don't understand why we would go beyond even helping with support with military to start giving them a bunch of money just to take care of their social needs and everything. Fuck that. They've got the ability to get out of there. We've given them a chance. Their own countries transport them around. There's been asylum going on. We can't be the freaking watchdogs of the world. We just can't. We can't afford it after a while. I mean, right now we're just spending trillions and trillions. And never even heard. That's astronomical money. More, the average person can't even imagine. I really can't even think about how much money that is. But they've gotten away with we're spending billions. Now it's trillions. So they just get away with it, and we just let them. It's like, okay, another trillion, 2 trillion. Yeah, okay, well, that's 1,000 billion, billions of thousands. It's like, geez, mind-boggling. And so anyway, I think it's really important we stay vigilant on that. And then I got my real story for today is holding up the Amtrak. It's a major deal. We talked about it in the last episode as far as it could be a life-threatening, not a life-threatening, but a job-threatening career if you hold up Amtrak. I mean, it's just usually, you have to have a good reason, blah, blah, blah. And I told you about, the shit and dumping on us and the poo-poo choo-choo. That was the first time. And in that same area, we had, they had a rock and roll car come through that checks the track gauge and cross level and whatnot. And if it's out of cross level too much or gauge at certain, increments, and like track gauge, if it's over 57 and a half or so, it becomes a tag, and so they can tag it out. And it's much more than that. They red tag it where you can't even run on it. A little less than that they'd say, okay, slow order, put track down to speed. Anyway, that's what had happened in that area with the first incident with the train. Well, then the second incident was just down around the curve, 1,000 feet. The foreman that was in Klamath had a yellow tag there that was almost red. It was like 57 and 3/8 or something. If you get to a half, then it's a red tag. But if you're at 3/8 or quarter, then you get a yellow tag. It's slow order. So it was slow order, so we had to get it fixed. And he had talked to the roadmaster and said, hey, could I use a service crew, which was me and the two guys I worked with. The three of us, he wanted us to come help him because he had a smaller crew and he needed more manpower to get that much work done. And it was like, yeah, okay. So we parked the machines. I just didn't take him out that day. And then went to help him. And we just took too much. We took too much track. We bit off more than we could chew. We had a decent-sized crew. I think it was like 7 guys, 8 guys. But we freaking were trying to gauge, pull spikes and plug and gauge like 1,000 feet or more. It was ridiculous. At that time, yeah, the foreman thought we could do it, but he only had like 3 or 4 hours window before the Amtrak come. Anyway, so here come Amtrak, and we're only about 3/4 done. There's no way we're getting it done. We know we're in trouble. Or at least, everybody knew there was going to be a problem with the foreman. He was sweating it, man. I mean, he was sweating it, holding up Amtrak. He was going to have to pay the price and talk to the roadmaster. And sure enough, here come the roadmaster flying in, and so the foreman and most of the crew was up around the curve, still gauging and stuff. We pulled spikes, and I dropped back to start plugging and setting spikes after the gauge crew. And so they were out ahead gauging with a three-man crew, and then a couple, three of us behind, plugging, setting spikes. Or actually plugged before you gauged, but and so we were setting all the spikes and then driving them down. And well, the roadmaster shows up and he's madder than hell, and he's just like, "What the hell's going on there?" Fucking cussing and screaming. He was a cusser, and he was a hard hat thrower. He'd throw his fucking hard hat and start screaming, "What the fuck is going on?" Just like me, I just sit back and laugh and yeah, whatever, you dumbass. Anyway, he walked up to me. He says, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm the boss. I'm just helping out." I said, "I think we obviously put off more than we could chew." Motherfucker, and he takes his heart out and he throws it down on the ground and he fucking takes off walking because the boss is up around the curve with the rest of the crew. And so as soon as he leaves, man, I grab his heart out and I fucking take a spike and I spike it to a tie. And I just keep working. I keep setting spikes like nothing happened. I was a pain in the ass when I was a laborer, and when I was younger on the railroad, I was definitely a handful. And then anyway, so he comes back, and as he's walking back, he's like, "This is bullshit." He goes, "This is twice now, twice." And he's yelling at me, and I'm saying, "Hey, I'm not the fucking boss, dude. I didn't say how much to take. Would have been me. I'd have stopped halfway and just got it done and came back tomorrow. Because that's the way you should have freaking done it." It's like, so I just kept bending over spiking, and he walks off, and I'm bending over setting the spike, and I look down behind me, and he goes to grab that hard hat, and when he goes to grab it to pick it up, boom, man, it falls right down on the ground, pulled himself right into the ground. I mean, funnier than shit. I just kept working. He didn't come up there and ask because there was only two of us back there, and he knew it was one of us. I'm sure he knew it was me. I mean, it would have been a safe bet, and he would have probably bet it. But so anyway, that happened, and there again, another investigation to find out what happened. My boss had to go in. I had to give a statement, blah, blah, blah. Well, 2 days later, same area, in the crossover, all in the same area. There was a yellow tag in there for cross level, and it was like right in the middle of the crossover from one track to the other. So I was running the servicing crew, which servo chief. It was one of the oldest hampers being had in that territory on the West Coast. And it was about ready to die. I mean, just, the guy that ran it just retired, Albie Kunkel, and I'm pretty sure they planned on scrapping the machine as soon as he retired, but I was working with that crew on the ground as a grade checker and whatnot, so I knew how to run the machine. He'd taught me. So they kept me in the machine until it just was no longer run. I guess that was their philosophy. I don't know. But the mechanic had told me he was getting ready to retire too, Harry Jellison, another old guy, most of these old timers. And he had told me, I said, "Harry, thing's making some noise. That machine's making louder and louder." He goes, "Yeah, it's the main bearing in the engine. The main bearing's going out." I went, "Oh." He goes, "Yeah, it's gonna blow up any time." He goes, "It's on its last leg." I said, "Yeah, I know that." He goes, "Yeah, so you might want to tell Ballgard," which is Ballgard was the roadmaster. So I called him up and said, "Hey, Mark," I said, "Hey, Ballgard," I said, "This machine's about ready to fucking blow up, man." I said, I was just talking to the mechanic. And he's on the other end of the line because he was in Centralia. That's where his office was. And I was working down in Kelso Climb area in Washington. So I was like, I was telling him, hey, Harry just told me. And he says, "I don't give a fuck." Spalding on the phone, he's yelling, "I don't give a fuck. Get out there and tear up that goddamn track. There's a fucking yellow tag out there. And we got to get these tags up, blah, blah, blah." All right. Click. Take the machines. Come out of the hole, go up there to the plant, fucking talk to dispatch. He's like, yeah. Oh, they're all paranoid by this point because holding up Amtrak twice in 1 week. They're not very happy with that area, or me, or the other foreman that was there. So they were really hesitant to even give us track and time to even get out there and do the work. But it was like, "Hey, we got a yellow tag out there. We got to get it fixed, blah, blah." "Okay, but let's not have an incident today." And I swear to God, we get out there and dispatcher lines me up for the crossover because the actual defect is right in the crossover. So I pull up, tamp the defect out, and then as we're getting ready to back out to get to the track that we came up on that we crossed over, we had to back up and go to the hole because Amtrak was coming. And we knew that, so the schedule every day. It's the same time every day. There's they're on schedule. So it's like, all right, guys, let's back up and go. And at that time, machine blows up. No, it just blows up. Fucking bearings go out. Fucking black smoke and just blah. And I'm like, "Oh, fuck." So the first thing I thought about was I got to get the machines behind me switched around because the one right behind me, the liner, can't pull this tamper. Now my other machine can, the regulator that was in the crew. So I sent them back to Kalama or back to the grain elevators and to switch around and come back up with the bigger machine, just leave the liner back there, and just the two of them come back on the regulator and then grab onto me and tow me. And while they were gone, I had to loosen the air brakes because, once it goes dead and you can't give it air to fucking release brakes. And it had all kinds of leaks. So as soon as it died, the air leaked out, and you knew you were crawling at each wheel and start loosening the fucking air brakes. So anyway, the air cans. So dispatcher called, or I called dispatcher and told him, "Hey, I got a problem." I said, he goes, "What's the problem, Spalding?" Spalding, they always go by last names. What's the problem, Spalding? And I said, "Well, I'm broke down. My machine just blew up." He goes, what are you talking about? I said, "The machine just blew up." He goes, "So what's," I said, "I can't even back up. I can't even move the machine." I said, "I got two machines switching out, and then the other one will come up and tow it." Gave him the whole scenario, and he was like, "Son of a bitch." And there again, it was like, it was in the afternoon, and at that time, then it was too late. By that time, I'd seen the Amtrak come around the curve, so I'm staring at the Amtrak headlight, which he happened to turn off, which I normally don't, but he turned it off because it was right in my eyes. And it couldn't have been a couple hundred feet from the end of my buggy to the Amtrak because he was right at the lights at the insulated joint, and I was just past the hill blocks. Anyway, so the dispatcher that was leaving, he didn't tell the dispatcher that was coming on. Kind of like the last time. These all happened about the same time, same train, same everything. And so news dispatcher comes on and goes, "Spalding, what the hell's going on out there?" I said, "Well, my machine broke down." I explained to him. He goes, "Oh, shit." I said, "Yeah, I'm staring Amtrak right in the face." And I said, "It's going to be another 10 minutes or so." I said, because they had to go clear back to Kalama, switch over, come back and get me. I said, "It's going to be a little while still." And then that's when the boss showed up again, Martin Ballgard, flying in 100 miles an hour. And because it's a big open area where you always come flying into. And like I said, these spots were all within a couple hundred feet, so that's where he pulled in every time. Anyway, pulls in sideways almost this time, dust flying, just like the other two. And then jumps out. Goes, "What in the motherfucker?" He says, "Spalding, this is twice, or this is the third time in 1 week. And I've had to call the president of the company the first two times, and you're calling him this time." And I went, "All right, give me the number." He goes, "Wait, why? What are you going to tell him?" I said, "Well, I'm going to tell him due to Roadmaster's neglect of maintenance, the fucking machine blew up in the middle of the crossroad. Not my problem." He goes, "Motherfucker," he says, "You're not calling nobody. You just don't fucking call nobody." And then, I don't know what happened. We had another investigation I had to go to, or give a deposition and explain. Well, they ended up scrapping the machine because it was junk. It was just an old machine. And ended up getting brand new equipment. But anyway, so, I mean, it's pretty funny stuff back then. And, probably it was really important not to hold Amtrak. But, there's times when shit happens. I mean, it does. It's kind of an old saying. Shit happens. Well, it's just like you try to do the best you can, and things like that come up. And you just got to have a plan B and a plan C. And sometimes we don't always think about that. We just go, cowboy up and go, and that don't always work. I mean, but you can't overdo it. You got to find that balance. You just can't go, and then have these kind of incidences or have, these kind of things happen. But the other flip side of it is, okay, you just stay in the hole. You don't do anything, waiting for the train or whatever it might be, and you look at that side of it, well, that doesn't work either. I mean, you gotta get shit done. You gotta stay up with the track and the maintenance. So you gotta find that balance, and there's gotta be balance, and it's gotta be with dispatch, with your boss maybe. Everybody's got to be on the same page to try to help the big picture of the maintenance of the railroad and running trains on it, and the importance of all of it from every aspect. All right, well, we'll call that a wrap there, and it's just until next time. Later.